So I was reading a book by Ray Dalio. It's called Principles, and it's an excellent book, and it offers a 5-step process to get what you want out of life. And I found that very fascinating because we all have a lot of goals, a lot of desires, and pretty much there are countless books on self-help, on success, how to achieve success. But this one, I haven't read a lot of books, but this one really sticked to me, and I found it very useful. So let me share you so that, but highly recommend you to read the book itself. And so it's a 5-step process, and it's basically the first step is you decide what you want, because if you don't know what you want, there is no point is thinking about success, because if you don't even have focused on what you want, what's your goal. And also when it comes to what you want, there are two things, like first thing is what is your dream, what do you really want, what's the ultimate thing that you want. So that could be anything, like that could be you want to become rich, or you want to become famous, you want to become a professional guitarist and earn a lot of fame, a lot of money, whatever. You maybe want to travel the whole world, that may be your dream. So define your dream, what do you really want. And that doesn't have to be the complete ultimate purpose of your life. That could be just something that you genuinely desire, or like, yeah, that's something that you want right from your heart. So decide what your dream is. And the next thing is, in the first step, is to decide and focus on a specific goal. And if you are starting completely from scratch, I would recommend setting a very small goal. Like if you want to climb a mountain, the first goal should be to do some exercise, become a little bit fit. If you are like, if you have never climbed any peak, but you want to climb Mount Everest, that is your dream. But first you have to be, and that's just a dream that came out of nowhere, but you have no experience in climbing, you have no fitness experience. So set a specific goal, like okay, I want to become a little bit strong. Okay, and so now you have a goal to work for. And the second step is, as you work on your goal, as you move towards your goal, you are going to face a lot of problems. Okay, you are going to face obstacles, problems, or even failures. So you identify the biggest problem that you are facing, that is preventing you from achieving that goal, and you write it down. Yes, write it down, because writing things down helps clear a lot of mental clutter, and you will be able to focus on it much more effectively if you just write it down. So, and the more clearly you define the problem, the better your chances are to solve it. So the step 2 is to identify a big problem, not a small problem, because mostly if you work on solving big problems, a lot of small problems get solved. And how are they going to solve? That's what the third step is about. So the third step is to diagnose that problem, because once you know what your problem is, very specifically you have defined it, you have write it down, and now you want to solve it. But don't try to solve it. Yes, don't try to solve it, because if you try to solve it right after writing what the problem is, then you may end up finding the wrong solution, or you may worsen the situation even. So don't solve it. The third step is to diagnose that problem. And what does that mean? See, basically when we get sick, when we get a disease, we go to doctor. Normally what doctor does is, for immediate relief, doctor gives a simple medicine to to see if it works. If it relieves the problem, it's good. But if that disease sticks, what does doctor do? The doctor advises us to do some blood test, right? Doing blood test is not going to solve the problem, but at least it helps the doctor to understand the problem. So the third step of the Ray Dalio 5-step process is about understanding the problem. It's about diagnosing the problem. So the third step is to diagnose the problem. And how do we diagnose a problem? The best way to diagnose a problem is to think from not your intuitive imagination, but more from like a scientific approach, like how scientists work, how they think. And it's not that complicated. It's basically called first principles thinking. And if you have a problem, the first thing that you need to do is to break down that problem into its fundamental components, or you can say the fundamental truths. If you have let's say, for example, a great example is Elon Musk. Everybody knows about him. Is when he was starting his company Tesla, he faced a major problem, that the car batteries were very expensive. So what he did was, instead of assuming okay, it's very expensive, we have to put in a lot of money to get car batteries from the car battery industries, and then use it. Instead of coming up with a very generic answer to that problem, he broke down the problem, that what is car battery actually made of. It's made of aluminium, it's made of cobalt, nickel, and few other materials. So, and what is the cost of those materials to make one battery? And he found that it's very less. So he asked why the battery itself is very expensive. Then he found that the battery is expensive because in a battery itself there are a lot of parts which are manufactured by different factories, and as those parts travel from one factory to another factory, its cost increases, because the middlemen, the people who are involved in the middle of the process, they also need to earn some margin. So that's why when the battery reaches their own factory, its cost is very high. So then he figured out, okay, if we want to significantly reduce the battery cost, we had to, the only option is to create our own batteries, and that will also help us build a brand across that. Okay, the Tesla automotives is making their own batteries, and again, while making the battery, they didn't follow the conventional approach. They found their own principles, okay, the first principles, and they created batteries from that. But how to create it? So that's where the fourth step comes in, because once you have found that, okay, this is the problem, let me break down this problem. Okay, this problem is made of 4 parts, and now I ask myself, okay, why I don't have these 4 parts? Why? So why is a great question to find out the root cause of a problem. But because mostly problem is not just one problem, it's different parts, as I said. So if you want to know the root cause of problem, the root cause itself may not reveal itself, because you have not understood the problem properly. So first thing is break down the problem, then ask why. Why you don't have these resources. So then you will get to the root causes, and now you have the first principles of a problem and the root cause that are not allowing you to move forward towards your goal. The fourth step is to design a solution or a plan. This is your to-do list. This is what you actually have to do in order to solve the problem. So you take the first principles which you found in the step 3, the diagnosis step. You take the first principles and the root causes, and you try to put them in order, like, okay, first I need to get this, and then this, and then this. So now you have a list of things to do. This is your action plan. This is where you have designed a process for you, okay, to follow. And step 5 is to implement that design, because if you don't implement that design, there is no point going from the first step to the fourth step. It's just fairy tale. So step 5, goddamn do it. And after you do it, there is going to be much higher chances that that problem that you were trying to solve is solved, because you took a very strategic approach which is very, very scientific, and it works always. But even if it doesn't work, you can always go back to the first step, that okay, I wanted to achieve this goal, but it didn't work because I've got this problem. And you again go back to the step 2, step 3. You break down the problem, you design a solution, and you implement it. And maybe this time this would work. For example, Elon Musk, again, I keep quoting Elon Musk because he's one of my, I'm a fan of him. So Elon Musk, when he launched rocket, for 3 times his launches failed. Okay, so this doesn't, instead of accepting his failure, he learned from his failure. He identified, because each time he found why that launch didn't work, why it was unsuccessful. So he found out the problems that was preventing the launch to be successful, and he solved the problem. And for the next launch, that problem was not there, but still that launch was failure. So he found out another problem that was preventing the launch from being successful. So that way he finally got successful with his launch. And I think that's the right mindset to move forward towards your goals. I know you may be wondering, who is this guy talking about achieving his goals? What has this guy done in his life? Not that much, but I'm trying. So I just wanted to share this process with you. Even if it doesn't work for me, if someone really applies this, it will work, because it's just about implementing the process. It's not about how great, like, if you just talk about these things, you can talk about these things again and again, but if you don't implement it, there's no point, because that's the step 5, execution. So just give it a try. It's in the last 4-5 days I have solved like 2-3 problems with this approach, and I just solved one more problem. I can show you. I'm doing this problem solving for the last 4-5 days, and it's been working very well. So give it a try. Bye.